I was an atheist with no religion, and my alien abduction experiences made me believe in God, made me believe in my religion, made me believe in Christianity and the Bible. But millions of Americans believe that if you believe in aliens, now you can't believe in God, you can't believe in religion, the Bible, Christianity. They think they're incompatible, but little do they know that the more research you do into aliens, the more you're going to believe in God, the more you're going to believe in the Bible, and the more you're going to believe in Christianity. And I'll tell you why in this documentary, because all these alien abduction experiences, these multi-generational alien abduction experiences that my family experienced, are the very reason I am a religious person today, the reason I believe in God, the reason I pray every day. Aliens did that. Aliens did that. And so it makes you wonder if all these Americans are like, I don't want to believe in aliens because I'm worried it contradicts my religious beliefs. Actually, it's the opposite. It will strengthen your belief in God, religion, and the Bible. As you will see in this documentary, I'll explain how that happened. If you're thinking that me believing in aliens makes me a crazy or a nut, you have to understand that that used to look like that because only a small fraction of people believe in aliens. But after multiple official UFO congressional hearings where whistleblowers come out to disclose the fact that we have alien spaceships, we have alien bodies, we even have alien humanoids working for the government, and the fact that there's been tens of thousands of abductions, tens of thousands of UFO sightings, and the fact that the History Channel has been talking and telling us for 15 years that aliens exist and they've always lived among us. Because of those reasons, now the majority of Americans believe in aliens. Yep. Me believing in aliens means I'm now in the majority. I used to be in the minority, now in the majority. Now you're thinking, hold on, the History Channel never said aliens are real. Okay. Well, here's the proof.
There is a doorway in the universe. Beyond it is the promise of truth. It demands we question everything we have ever been taught. The evidence is all around us. The future is right before our eyes. We are not alone. We have never been alone.
Promise of truth. You hear that promise of truth? And now we have to question a lot of the stuff that we've heard because we're not alone, aliens exist, and we've never been alone. This is the most popular show on History Channel, Ancient Aliens. So before you think I'm a nut, remember, the people who don't believe in aliens in the United States are now the minority. And the reason so many people believe in aliens now is because there is a mountain of evidence. As you just heard, the evidence is all around us. You just have to open your eyes and see it.
Lola, Show!
Did you ever hear about that treaty that the government made with gray aliens where they could experiment on humans in exchange for technology, called the Gready Treaty? By the looks of it, it sounds like you have not heard about that treaty yet. So let me show you one of my favorite shows and I'll show you what happened.
On the night of February 20th, 1954, the President of the United States vanished during his Palm Springs vacation. Dwight D. Eisenhower wasn't in his hotel room. He wasn't on the golf course. The Secret Service searched everywhere. He was just gone. The Associated Press reported President Eisenhower died tonight of a heart attack in Palm Springs. An emergency press conference was called. The president was alive and well. He chipped a tooth and was rushed to a local dentist. The story seemed believable enough, but reporters started asking questions. They couldn't find the dentist or his office, and no record of the visit. That's because the story was a lie. Eisenhower wasn't at the dentist. He was at Edwards Air Force Base for the most classified meeting in American history. Like the Nordics, the Greys also had an offer. The Nordics offered a path to world peace, the end of war, starvation, poverty, free energy for all, a great leap forward for all humanity. The Greys had a different approach. They wouldn't save all of humanity, only a select few. Greys had technology that would put America a century ahead of any other nation. Particle beam weapons, zero-point energy, advanced metallurgy, stealth technology, anti-gravity propulsion. America wouldn't just win the Cold War, it would dominate Earth for generations. And all they wanted in exchange was access, permission to operate on Earth in secret, underground bases, hidden facilities, and they wanted access to the human population for biological study. Just a few people. The abductions would be harmless. People would be taken aboard a ship while they were asleep. The experiments would be painless. When the subjects were returned, they'd have no memory of the abduction. And for transparency, the United States government would be provided with a full list of every abductee. All eyes were on the president, the generals, the scientists, the cardinal, and the Greys, waiting. Eisenhower had to choose the Nordics' path to peace or the Greys' promise of power.
This is the Y-Files, and it's a great show. He's got a YouTube channel where he talks about a lot of stuff. And to be fair, after all this talk about the Gready Treaty, he also tries to debunk the Gready Treaty in the same video. Highly recommend you check out his channel.
The two alien races had made their offers. The Nordics promised peace through disarming. The Greys promised power through technology. For Eisenhower, the choice was clear. He chose power. The Cold War was escalating. Soviet nukes were pointed at American cities. The Nordics' offer sounded idealistic and naive. The Greys' deal promised survival. It was practical. The decision was made in that gray chamber. No ceremony, no handshakes, no documents to sign. The agreement was sealed telepathically, mind to mind. The terms were simple. The United States would get advanced technology and weapons that could end any war. The Greys would provide blueprints, materials, knowledge, and even assist human engineers. In return, the Greys could operate on Earth in secret. They were given federal land to build their own bases, deep underground, hidden from the public, hidden from Congress, hidden from future presidents, hidden from everyone except Majestic 12. The abductions also started immediately. People vanished from their cars on deserted highways, from their beds in the middle of the night. The list of names began to arrive to Majestic 12. But the numbers didn't add up. Reports suggested that for every name on the list, 10 more people went missing. And the few abductees who remembered the experience didn't describe harmless exams. They described terrifying, painful procedures. The Greys had lied, but Majestic 12 had no way to stop them without revealing the entire program. But there were witnesses who had no interest in money or power, and they decided to expose the truth. The Gready Treaty promised America technological supremacy in exchange for allowing alien research on human subjects. The deal was simple: limited abductions, harmless experiments, full disclosure, regular reports. But by the late 1970s, it was clear the Greys weren't keeping their end of the bargain. Now, sure, they were sharing technology. Within a decade of the treaty, computers shrank from room-sized monsters to desktop machines. Fiber optics appeared out of nowhere. Stealth aircraft could vanish from radar. Materials that returned to their original shape after being crumpled, just like witnesses described from Roswell. The transistor, microchips, anti-gravity research, night vision, all of it accelerating at an impossible pace. But the most disturbing part wasn't what we gained, it was what we lost. Because while American technology leaped forward, American citizens were disappearing.
All this started when I was in college and I was depressed. They were feeding really low quality food, and it had like laxatives in it and a lot of bad stuff. And I was getting very depressed on that diet. And I was also in a dorm room with two other people who were good friends, but I was also like, feel like I need my own space. So I found a university called Maharishi University of Management, and they offered 100% organic food, 100% time in the cafeteria. They're the only university that were doing that. And on top of that, they had single dorms, which means I get a whole dorm room to myself. So I love the idea of 100% organic food, and I love the idea of a single dorm. So I went ahead and applied. I got into Maharishi University of Management, and then I started going to school there. And at first, everything was normal. First semester came by, and nothing happened. Things changed in the summertime. Just to rewind a little, around that time, moving right around the time I moved from Maharishi University of Management, I was pretty passionate about aliens. I had watched I think the first season of Ancient Aliens, and I was like 98% sure they were real. And I even got the world's first phone that recorded HD video, 720 HD. I was so excited about it. I was like, if I ever catch a UFO, if I see a UFO in the sky, I got the best phone camera in the world to capture it. So I was like, just in case. I mean, it'd be the coolest footage ever, like have to catch a spaceship on your smartphone. So I had that camera just in case I would catch a UFO, right? And so here I am walking to the woods. It's around nighttime. Walking through this trail. My friend Daniel invites me over. He's like, hey, let's go to the woods. I got a little bit of cannabis, and we can smoke in the woods. So we went ahead through the trail, and we sat down on these two little logs in a forest in a trail, and it wasn't a lot of cannabis, but something was something. So we had a little puff, and then as we were just chit-chatting, and then Daniel was like, hey, so people have been seeing these weird lights in the sky. And I was like, really? Like, what type of lights? He's like, kind of like UFO lights. I was like, really? Like spaceships and stuff? He's like, yeah. Like, that's cool. And then he goes, oh, look at that. What's that? And it's dark at night, right? But I see a ball of light over us among stars. The ball of light was not really moving much, so I was like, it could be a drone, it could be I don't know, bright insanely bright star. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to get all excited and be like, it's a UFO. But the thing is, it was being still. And even though it was unlike anything I've ever seen in the sky, the fact that it was still made me think like, I don't think it's a UFO, because right now it's just a light. It's not doing anything like technologically advanced. It's just a big ball of light in the sky. And I would say it was like maybe 2 or 3 times bigger than the brightest star I've ever seen in the sky. So I was like, maybe it's a UFO, maybe not. Either way, I had my camera there to record it. Did I though? conveniently or inconveniently, I'm not sure, depending on who you're talking about, the aliens or me. Convenient for them, inconvenient for me. I didn't record it, even though I literally got the best HD video camera and a smartphone to record literally UFOs. But once you see a UFO, for some reason, I just didn't record it. Anyway, didn't record it. Like, oh, cool, that may have been UFO, maybe not, whatever. Then, I don't remember how much time after, but it was summer of 2010, and I was trying to be more social. I noticed some of the other dorm people were keeping their door open. I was more of an introvert, so I was like, I'm gonna do this new thing. I'm gonna keep my door open so that if someone wants to socialize, they can stop by my dorm and be like, hey, you wanna hang out? So I had my dorm room open. I was on my computer, and I hear these footsteps in the hall, and this guy, I hear these footsteps in the wall, and they're coming nearer and nearer, and I feel like an energy, just some like presence coming nearer and nearer. So I looked over at the doorway, and there's this guy who's just kind of staring at me, and he walks a little bit, and he stares at me like examining me, like, and then he walks away, and I'm like, okay, that was really weird. Anyway, I didn't think much of it. He was like very skinny, extremely wrinkly, thin, kind of short, maybe like 5'7", and he looked a little weird. His body language was a little weird. But anyway, I was like, I don't know this person, whatever. They're gone. A little bit later, I'm not sure if it was a week or a few days or a couple weeks, my friend Daniel comes over, say, hey man, guess what? So we've invited to barbecue. I was like, I don't want to go to barbecue. And thing is like, all right, hold on. The most beautiful girl I've ever seen, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen is gonna be at that barbecue. She does have a boyfriend, so she's not available, but she is stunning. It's worth going to barbecue just to stare at her. And the thing is with Maharishi University Management is that the ratio of men to women is really off. I think it's like 75% men when I was there and 25% women. And honestly, the few, 2 or 3 really attractive women there were getting hit on by every man. So, and honestly, they weren't like that attractive. So the idea, and also the thing is with Maharishi University Management is that they do 100% organic food, but the way they keep costs low is everything's vegetarian, so you don't have to buy that really expensive organic protein, animal protein, right? So it's like, well, I get to eat meat, which I don't get here in the university, and I get to see a stunning girl, which I haven't really got to see since I came to mom. So I was like, okay, I'll go. You recommend? He's like, Danny's like, you gotta go, man. You gotta go. This is, at least to check out this girl. Okay, dude, just let me know when it is. I don't remember what time it was, or maybe like 3 or 4. He's like, yeah, we'll just, come get me, or I'll come get you in a little bit. I think it was like an hour and a half or something. He said that, I don't remember exactly. Daniel took me over, and I didn't have a car. But these people had a van. I didn't honestly remember even seeing who was driving the van. I'm not sure it was my friends or if it was these weird people I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But we went in this van, me and all my friends. Again, I don't remember who the driver was. And we drove maybe like 20, 30, 40 minutes. I don't remember. I don't think it was too long. Maybe like between 20 and 30 minutes. And we arrived at this location. And it was an abandoned schoolhouse. And it had some trees and bushes to the side. Kind of next to it. A little bit overgrown. Definitely it was like no one's been trimming this place because it's abandoned, right? So we walk through some trees and bushes, and as we're walking through it to get to the back of the abandoned schoolhouse building, one of my friends, I think it was Daniel, was like, hey, these guys, he got like inheritance or something, and he bought this abandoned schoolhouse for like $66, or I think he said $76,000. He's gonna fix it up and live in it. And we're all like, oh, that's so cool, because like fixing something up and living off the land and all that cool stuff. It just sounded like something. We're taking permaculture class. It sounded like a cool thing. So we're like, oh, these people are cool. I like that. So we're walking through, this bush, and we get to the other side of the building where there's a little fire pit going, a little barbecue. I am invited to sit down and eat. They had very low quality burgers and hot dogs. I was like, yeah, grateful for the meat, but you bought the lowest quality. I did see the girl.
Come get some BBQ, Peter. We have been waiting for you.
I see this girl. Yeah, she's very, very, very pretty. But then I didn't want to like make her feel uncomfortable and stare, so I was like, I'm just gonna eat my burgers and hot dogs. And while I'm eating my burgers and hot dogs, we're all kind of like sitting in a row in front of the fire, and she starts walking like from the first person, slowly walking in front of every man, and just staring like, not like examining a product, kind of like. And then she got to me, and I finally got like, she's staring at me, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna stare back at you. She's like about 2 feet away, staring at me. I look at her and I'm like, you look impossibly beautiful. Like, the most beautiful person I've ever seen, but all honesty, the best way to describe her is she looked AI generated. AI generated. You know, you ever generated an AI or seen these AI generated women and you're like, obviously they're fake. Obviously that's not real. Yet I was seeing a person that looked AI generated, but they were real in front of me.
Hey, come join us by the fire. We've got plenty of food.
She had big eyes, blue eyes, shortish brown hair, and she's very thin, and she's beautiful, stunning. And she was with her boyfriend, which turned out to be that old man, or I don't know if he's an old man or not, but anyway, who knows? It was this old wrinkly guy, which was apparently her boyfriend. Yeah, don't ask me, I'm just telling you what happened. And so I was kind of like, well, that's weird. He must make up for it somehow because he's definitely not her age. I was thinking in my head, like, you're too young for this guy. You're too pretty for him. And she was like, I'm a lot older than you think. She said out loud. She just responded. She responded to my thoughts with words. She's like, I'm older than you think. I'm actually an adult. I was like, okay, I take your word for it. And seeing her body language and confidence level and posture, I was like, maybe she's just very healthy. I don't know. Continues walking down, examining the men. And then after that, a brief period of time, they offered us a little bit of cannabis to smoke out, like one little puff. And I'm like, well, boo. And anyway, we're like, hey, it was nice, but didn't expect that. And so after that, we were told there was this guy who had like curly red hair. And I had seen him on campus a few times. I tried to find this guy later on Facebook. I don't remember if he was part of our class or not. He was a very short guy, maybe like 5'4", very skinny, and he had this curly red hair. And he was like, hey guys, I just got certified for a level 1, purification ceremony. I was taught this by an indigenous group. Now, I'm only certified for a level 1 purification ceremony, but I kind of need to practice this. And so if you guys want a few free purification ceremony, I can do that, and then that way I can practice. So us being a bunch of hippies, we're all like, purification ceremony taught by an indigenous group? Yeah, for sure. So we go, we get another line, and this guy pulls out this big sage wand or whatever it is, lights it up. I think it was white sage, and he was, purifying us. Going down one by one, he was purifying us, and then right after the purification ceremony, it was like bang, bang, bang. It's like, I got there, let's eat. All right, now a little bit of cannabis. All right, now purification ceremony. There wasn't really any time to like socialize or chit chat. It was like boom, boom, boom. We're on a schedule. Looking back, that's kind of how that seemed to be the case. It was really seemed like they had a plan. The host, this stunning woman and this really, really old guy. It seemed like they had a plan. And so after the purification ceremony, they're like, hey guys, literally right after, like, hey guys, guess what? if you want, you can climb up a ladder to get to the roof of the schoolhouse. Isn't that cool? It's like, we climb up a ladder, go to the roof, and then you can see the top of the roof house. And I was like, oh, I assume it's durable enough that we can be on the roof. Kind of deciding, should I go, should I not? Some people started going. By the way, I didn't make this clear, but we were in a group of about 10 or 12, 15 people, something in that range, I don't remember. And the only other person there that I remember that was someone I knew was Daniel. Daniel was the only person that I was like, this guy I know. I don't have a memory if the other people were complete strangers or they were my college friends. I don't remember. But Daniel and some of the men started walking in the direction to climb up, to go into the schoolhouse, to climb to the roof. And I don't know, started going that direction, like, I don't know, it kind of sounds boring. And then she starts making out with him, which, you ever see a young lady make out with an old guy? It's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. So I was like, heck no, I'm leaving. I literally ran into the building, I was like, I don't see that, that's gross. So I go up there, I go into the building, I follow the line. Ben in the schoolhouse is like, no, they've done work on this, I'm not impressed. It looked like they had done no work at all in the schoolhouse, not even started. It was still trash, it was still in ruins. But there's a ladder leading to a hole and that leads to the roof. So I was like, okay. Take a steady ladder. So we climbed up and got to the top of the ladder. Everyone's climbing up the ladder. I was like, I was one of the last people, but there's like 3 people behind me. So I climb up the ladder and I'm standing on top of the roof of the schoolhouse, looking around like, oh, that's a pretty cool view, pretty cool. And then the last 3 people behind me got up on top of the roof. Just around a few seconds after the last person got on the roof again, on the schedule apparently. It was around 3 or 4 p.m. in that range. Nothing in the sky, no clouds. It was just blue. I just remember blue, perfectly clear blue sky day. Sun was bright. And some points up the sky goes, look at that thing. There's a ball. There's a ball in the sky. And we all look up and we're like, whoa. It was like that same ball that I saw. It was like that same ball I saw at nighttime, but I was seeing it during the day. And at night, you're like, maybe it's a planet, maybe it's a star. But during the day, I'm like, what the hell? And I was like, at this point, I'm like, again, 98% sure that's a freaking alien spaceship up there. But I'm not 100% sure yet. And then right next to that ball light, another one appears. Like out of thin air. It's almost like an invisibility cloak was taken off. It's like, boom, another one appears next to it. And we're like, whoa, what? And another one appears next to it. And they started appearing, a whole bunch of light orbs started appearing. And at that point, we all know what's going on. We know these are aliens, these are spaceships. And kind of like that scene in Independence Day, like, abduct me. So we weren't saying abduct me. We started, it was a high energy, happy, exciting event. So we started jumping and screaming on like, yeah, oh my gosh. Because these were balls of light, UFO spaceships, and they were kind of like dancing in the sky. It felt like this was for us. And we're like, wow, we're special. Look, they're dancing for us. So it was very, very exciting. We were screaming, we were yelling. I remember jumping up and down. Super excited because of this, whole thing that's happening with the spaceships in the sky. I mean, it feels special. And it was a happy energy. And we're jumping, and then right there is when my memory got deleted. Right where I'm literally, usually when you're having a really intense emotion, that helps you remember the moment. But what's odd is that I didn't remember the moment after. It's like one of the most exciting things happened in my life until, it was the most exciting, I think, thing ever happened in my life until that point. But right after I was jumping for joy, my memory is gone. And then, after that, my very next memory is I'm sitting in front of a fireplace on a different side of that building. It's a different fire, on a different spot. I don't remember who built the fire. The men were around in a circle in the fire, and I was like regaining consciousness. And I opened my eyes, and I'm sitting in front of the fire, feeling a little brain foggy, and there's a guy in that fire next to this fire, and he's like saying something stupid like, "Oh, I can get high off this can or whatever." And party's over. That's stupid. I'm leaving.
You know you can get high off this stuff.
So we leave, and then I don't remember exactly when this happened, but I had bought, again, this is weird. I had bought a Rock Band set, like Rock Band 3. It's a video game system where you play like guitar and a drum kit, and you got a microphone, and you can sing to all these songs. It's a very, extremely fun video game. It was for like PlayStation 3 and stuff, and other consoles. And I had bought a used kit for the dorm, but I wasn't really using it much, and I kind of wanted to get rid of it. Apparently, somehow, this guy and this girl heard that I was trying to get rid of it, and so through a friend, they were like, "I'll take it off your back." So then, I'm not sure exactly when this happened, but they stopped by with their van, and I helped them load my Rock Band stuff, like the guitar, the drum kit, microphone, in the back of their van, and then they drove off, right? I think it was roughly 3 days after the UFO event. And then, but a few days after that, I woke up one day and I was like, I remember seeing UFOs in the sky, but I don't remember what happened after that. I don't remember. And I was like, the only one I remember that was with me was Daniel. Daniel was there. So I went to Daniel, I was like, hey, like about a week ago we went to this barbecue. I remember seeing UFOs in the sky, but I don't remember anything after that. And he's like, yes! That happened. We went to that barbecue and there were UFOs. I was like, oh, okay. I was starting to think this was like a dream. He's like, no, it wasn't a dream. We went to a barbecue and we saw UFOs in the sky. And I was like, oh, okay. So it wasn't a dream. Because the memory came back to me after a few days. So it's fair to assume it was maybe possibly a dream. He's like, no, we were there. We saw UFOs. And I was like, my memory, I was like, jumping for joy about the UFOs, but then my memory got deleted right after. What do you remember? And he's like, I remember that they flew down and shined light on us. And then he said his memory after that disappeared. I was like, really? Flew down and shined light on us like a track beam? He was like, yeah. I was like, that's weird. So we were probably like abducted and stuff. I was like, yeah. And then he was like, by the way, that guy was weird. That boyfriend of that girl was weird. I was like, what are you talking about? And then he was like, he moved, his body language is weird. He helped me remember the fact that this guy had the face of like a 120-year-old. You know, these really old people and they got like wrinkles everywhere. Wrinkles for days. This guy had like extra layers of wrinkles, like just so many wrinkles on his face. It was crazy. So I've never seen so many lines on someone's face. Usually, people like that are like hunched over. Like, oh. This guy had the mobility of like a 15-year-old. He was like flexible and floppy, and the way he walked was not like a hunched old man. He was kind of like weird, and we're talking about how his body language is weird. He looked old, but he moved around like a smooth sailing, perfect joints, perfect ligaments, perfectly healthy, physically down person. He's like, that's weird. He's like, you know what else is weird about that guy? I was like, what? He's like, one time that guy was like examining me. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, he examined me in a way that made me feel uncomfortable. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I was just standing there and he got down. He was like, and he had this weird body language. He was just like, Dad was like, the guy was examining me like I was like a creature or something, like some weird creature. I was like, yeah, that is weird. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? At the time, I was like, "Oh, these are humans, right?" Again, this is such a powerful event in my life that I've gone back and thought about it probably thousands of times, thousands of times. And after a few years of processing this event, because it happened about 15 years ago, I realized that the guy and the girl were aliens. And the reason I believe this is because the woman was impossibly beautiful. For a human, earthling, impossible to be that attractive. Just impossible. Not possible. I don't care your age, I don't care how healthy you are, I don't care genetics, impossible to be that attractive. Without some type of exotic alien genetics, really exotic. And then he was too weird to be human because he had the face of like 120, 150-year-old, but the agility of and like flexibility and of someone in his like teens or early 20s. And so it was very, very weird. And over time I realized like these guys were aliens and they probably helped those ships abduct us. So that was just my first abduction experience. And because I've had so much 15 years to process, think about every memory, analyze it, I realized that it was very, very strategic. You know, here we are in a university with no attractive woman. Sorry if that offends you if you're listening to this. You were there. And no meat. And here they are saying, come to our barbecue. And then it's like, there's gonna be a pretty woman. So it was like bait, literally bait. There was bait to catch us in, I guess, a trap, I guess. And then it was so weird how it was like everything was scheduled. There wasn't really much socializing. It was like eat, smoke, purification ceremony, ladder, abduction, like on schedule, in a row. And the way that he was examining my friend Daniel, definitely the body language Daniel was showing me was as if some type of weird alien was examining like a human close up, like a weird human. It was interesting that he did that, and it was also interesting how she walked past us like one by one, like almost like he was watching Daniel as if Daniel was like a weird creature, and she was walking across us in front of that fire one by one, as if almost like examining or studying the product or what she's collected, the men she's collected, right? So that was the first abduction experience. And again, at this time, I was, very, very okay with it. It was a positive event. All I had was memory deletion, no scars, nothing traumatic. So I was okay with it. And that was fun. Welcome to Alien Psychology 101. In this class, we're going to explain why humans are so afraid to believe in aliens. And they have a reason to, because once you believe aliens exist, it opens up a rabbit hole of very scary truths. But aliens have been visiting, and millions of people have seen UFOs. And the reason that UFOs, which are these alien spaceships 99% of the time, and they can cloak their ship, the reason they're showing themselves to humans is because when you see UFOs, you are now going to have a little bit of doubt that you are alone in the universe, and you're going to start to think maybe there is life. But let me explain how UFOs is going to get you to believe in aliens, and why the belief in aliens is actually going to turn into something a little bit traumatic and scary, if I'm honest with you. So first, look at it this way. If you look at the tens of thousands of UFO sightings, and you talk to the millions of people who've seen UFOs, you have to understand one thing. And that thing is that if only one of those UFOs is piloted by an alien, it just takes one, and guess what? That means aliens exist. If aliens exist, what does that mean? Well, if aliens exist, that means they're watching us. Spooked out yet? Oh, it's gonna get a little bit darker. If we're being watched by aliens in the sky, that can only mean one thing. Abductions are real. I know this can get traumatic, but I'm gonna have to continue here, kids. If abductions are real, guess what that means? That means alien experimentation is real as well. We're We're getting dark. We're getting dark. Now, if you're scared, turn off this video now because it's going to get a little bit darker as we learn why people are afraid to believe in aliens. Because, again, it starts out with UFOs. Oh, aliens might exist. Wait, they're watching us. Oh, wait, they're abducting us. Oh, wait, that means they're experimenting on us. What does that mean? Oh, I'll explain. If they're abducting us, that means they're doing some type of genetic experimentation. And if that's true, if they've done any type of DNA modification, and aliens do exist, they're modifying our DNA, the chances are very high they've been doing this for like forever. Thousands of years, maybe since the inception of humans. That humanity is nothing more than a huge combination of diverse alien genetics. We're all alien hybrids in a sense. That's kind of where this alien belief heads toward once you believe it. I know it's scaring you, but listen, that is where this all goes once you start doing your research. But it gets a little bit scarier. See, if we are being experimented on, then aliens have been influencing us for a long time. So that's a little bit scary too. If they have been experimenting and modifying our DNA, they probably have been influencing us in many different ways. I know it's an uncomfortable belief, but if aliens exist, it's the chances of that being real, like 100%. If that is real, that means many religions got it wrong. Yep. Even though believing in aliens made me more religious, if your religion does not explain the existence of aliens, then believing in aliens could possibly affect your belief in that religion. I think that belief in aliens religions are compatible if you look into the Bible books and the books of Enoch. But if you don't, then yes, under those conditions, aliens can make you doubt God and even religion, because religions are not talking about aliens. And so that gap where they're not telling you that critical truth is going to make you doubt everything in that religion. But just because the people in that religion are imperfect and hiding information or don't know about this information doesn't mean the religion's wrong. And again, the Bible talks about aliens and abductions and hybrid human alien genetic experiment. So if the Bible talks about it in the books of Enoch, there is some connection here between aliens and religion that is definitely worth looking into. That's going to get a bit scarier here. So again, if you are faint of heart, if you have issues with being frightened easily, turn off the video now, because this belief in aliens is going to get a little bit darker. As I said, when you believe in aliens, you're going to have to accept a whole bunch of other complicated and difficult to accept truths. Now, if everything I'm saying is true, then there is a high likelihood that aliens can and often read our minds. Yep. And you know what? Privacy is an illusion, because God can read our minds too. And soon AIs will be able to read our minds too. And so aliens reading our minds is really like whatever. There never was privacy to begin with, so I'm like, whatever. But it is a scary thing to know that there's no privacy. Privacy is an illusion. There is no privacy. There's always at least God or aliens or someone reading your mind. So, but they are reading your mind. I know that's scary. The Gready Treaty is real as well, and so that's a big one. The Gready Treaty, where the aliens made a treaty with the U.S. government where they could experiment on aliens in exchange for technology. If all I'm saying is true, then the Gready Treaty is extremely high likelihood of being true as well. And that's a bit scary. Because if the Gready Treaty is true, that means there is some human trafficking going on with aliens. This is kind of where it gets really dark. That means there is human trafficking. There's probably some really horrible mutant experiments. My alien abduction experiences were on the lighter side, but I've heard really dark stories. So if they're modifying our DNA and they're doing kind of darker mutant human experiences, then what that probably means is they are creating thousands and not tens of thousands of human alien hybrids, which at some point will be assimilated onto, Earth, and they will be walking among us. Probably a lot of them already are. You just can't tell. So, yeah, it's gonna get a little bit more complicated. And then the scariest thing about aliens being real is not something I even want to discuss right now because I don't want to get that dark in this documentary. But the reality is that if the people, the main two reasons that the U.S. government does not want to disclose aliens are real are, one, they feel it's going to fracture and negatively impact people's faith in God and religion, because these religions are failing to implement the books of Enoch. And also, once you admit aliens are real, now you're going to have to admit all the dark stuff about aliens. And a lot of the stuff I said is not even the darkest stuff. There's a lot more dark stuff happening with aliens, and that's quite scary. And it's so dark, in fact, that if full alien disclosure about what aliens have been doing to humanity since the beginning was disclosed to all humanity like today, most of the population would go mentally insane. And so that's a scary part. I've gone down the rabbit hole and I have recovered, and I'm here to help you hold your hand through this as you learn the truth as well. So I got you. I'm going to help you get through this as well, because alien disclosure is happening. It's only a matter of time. And I think I'm in a perfect position to help you believe in aliens while keeping your faith in God, Christianity, and the Bible. So after this whole alien abduction experience, I didn't tell anyone about it initially, because when you tell people you've been abducted by aliens, especially back then, you're really going to damage your reputation. So what ended up happening is that I didn't tell anyone what happened. So I didn't tell anyone what happened, other than it was just between me and Daniel. I ended up leaving that college and then went back to my home. And at the time, everything was normal. One night I had an interesting dream. And the dream was I was standing out at my balcony, and there was a gray human hybrid alien girl, young. Not sure if she was 10 or 4 or something along those lines. She just silently staring at me. And although it was a very memorable, powerful dream, also very short, it was a dream. So I didn't make any connections at the time. I was like, it's a dream. The dream's a dream. I probably saw some alien stuff somewhere, and then it just came into my dream. That's how I interpreted it. Later on, I found out that aliens will take your sperm sample and DNA and create hybrids, and then introduce you to the hybrids, sometimes through dreamlike states. So that's why I'm bringing this up. What I thought was just a dream may have been possibly something else. But I will definitely say I was in bed, and it felt like I was asleep when I saw that alien. I'll give you that. Could have been a dream. Definitely felt like it was something else. Could have been me sleepwalking or a dreamlike state. But I saw this weird alien girl. And then after that, we were taking, I'm not sure it was a year or 3 months after that, we were taking a vacation, me and my family, and we were on an island, and my mom had a bad fall. She slipped down the stairs, and cracked her hip, and cracked it really bad. And they helicoptered her out, because again, we were on an island, and they got her to the nearest hospital. But it was a third world country, and so what happened was, it was a poor hospital, and it was the type of hospital where all the drugs are stolen, all because the drug dealers would just come over and steal the drugs from the hospitals, and there's no security. So that hospital had no pharmaceuticals whatsoever. And my mom was in the highest pain level she's ever been in her entire life. She was agony because she was on no pain, and her hip was cracked. She's lying in the bed, and she was in the worst pain ever. And my dad had connections with a bunch of Christians, a lot of Christians. He was the pastor, and it was late at night, I think like 12 or 2 or 3 in the morning, and he was like, messaging every person he could. He's like, pray for my wife, she's in a lot of pain. Pray for my wife, she's in a lot of pain. And one of the groups that I really respect some, another pastor, got a group of allegedly like 100 or dozens of people, I don't remember how much, a large group of people in one room to pray for my mom's pain, which is an incredible thing for these people to do in like the middle of the night, to pray to God to help take away just one person's pain. But they did it, and I appreciate that. As they were praying to take away her pain, to be clear, this story, I was not present when this happened. This was told to me by my dad, but this is what he said happened. He said he was in the room with my mom, and he called it his mind's eye. In his mind's eye, not physically seeing these creatures, but in his mind's eye. My dad has some level of psychic powers I don't understand. But he's in his mind's eye, he saw 3 what looked like gray aliens. He calls them angels or spirits. That's what he believes, and I respect that. But he said these 3 creatures that look like gray aliens walked into the room. And one of them had a silver wand. And they waved this wand over my mom, like, shh. And then the pain was gone.
The pain is gone now. Thank you, Lord.
100% gone. And my dad never told that story to anyone, ever. Until one day I had the courage to be like, God, you know, I've been abducted by aliens, I've had this experience and that experience. And he's like, no, these are spirits, these are demons, these aren't aliens, they're not physical, but he's like, that being said, I did have this story to share with you because it's relevant, because it kind of looked like gray aliens, right? So he shared that story to me about how they came and they waved this wand over my mom and took her pain away, which for me was weird. In the Christian culture, they believe all aliens are demons. So for you, especially grays are evil demons, right? That's what the Christians, a lot of Christians say, because they can't accept the fact that they're aliens. But that contradicts, because here you are, dozens, maybe 100 people or more praying to God to help someone's pain relief, and then these beings come and take the pain away. You know, was it a miracle? Was it God telling angels, or was God telling aliens or alien angels to come down and take my mom's pain away? No. Until this point, I had no negative experience with aliens, so nothing really negative to say. And I was passionate about learning about aliens, so we were good, right? Well. Got married, an amazing person. We knew each other for just 3 months before we ended up getting married, and we had our first child together. And we were living in an apartment, and at the time I had not told her anything about that alien abduction experience, because it was positive, nothing fearful, anything to worry about. The dream I had with the hybrid was, as far as I'm concerned, just a dream. And the experience that my mom had with the gray aliens, I hadn't even heard that story yet. I didn't know that happened. I found out about that story 4.5 years ago. And so, anyway, I was in my room with my daughter, my wife, and we were in a very cheap apartment, as we weren't very rich at the time. That's when we were at our poorest. This one was a little hard for me, because as someone who believes in law of attraction, it's not a story I like to tell. That being said, I believe in God, and God will protect me. So I'm going to go ahead and tell this story anyway. I was in my room. At the time, I was not the best sleeper in the world, because I had pain. But I wasn't a bad, horrible sleeper. But my daughter and my wife had already fallen asleep. And I was trying to fall asleep. I was lying down on my back, eyes closed. And we always locked our doors. And even our balcony, we would lock it every night. It's just a safety protocol. We have a child, right? A daughter, so we locked it. And so it was nighttime, maybe around 10:30 or something like that. I was trying to fall asleep. My daughter and my wife were asleep. And I'm lying on my back, and I hear a footstep. First, I'm like, it's a neighbor. And I hear another footstep. And being this was an old, cheap apartment, like floorboards creaked. There was a carpet, but on the carpet there were creaky floorboards. So this second step had a creak. It was like stepping it. That scared me. At that point, I was like, someone's in our apartment. And so I quickly go through my mind as quick as I can. Did I lock the door? Yes, me and my wife made sure we locked the door. Did we lock the balcony door? The only other way to enter that apartment? Yes, we did. Definitely did. We know we did. And that scared me because I knew at that point it couldn't have been a robber or even a human. That what was in the house was non-human. I started to realize that pretty quick. As I realized the only being I can get in there in a locked room, locked area. I mean, technically maybe a human could if they had keys or they climbed the balcony or something, but the thing is, due to my previous abduction experience, I kind of knew what was coming. So I heard another footstep, and then the room was a lot closer to the door. And at that point, I knew they were coming for our room. And then I was frozen with fear. And then I was trying to come up with solutions, and I didn't have any. So I kind of retreated to like a childlike state and went into full protection mode. And see, if it had been what I believed to be a man coming into the room, a robber, I would have gotten something to attack me. I knew it wasn't that type of being. So instead I did what any sane person would do in that position, I guess. Pulled the covers over my head and I hid. So I heard the third creak. And then after that, I heard someone put a hand on the door. And the door had a creak when opened. And they turned the doorknob, and I heard the door opening with, and that's when my memory cut out. That's when my memory cut out. Right after I heard the door open. And that's what was me. I did not see what was there. I covered myself with a blanket. I did not see what was there. I did not see. I don't know what, but I assume something powerful. I was having to get into my apartment, everything's locked. Memory was deleted. I wake up. I am lying on my bed. Not under my comforter. I'm lying on top of my comforter. And then my head is not on my pillow. My head is in the bottom of the bed. So I'm upside down basically. My head is where everyone's feet are. And my feet are where my pillow is. And I'm on my comforter. I've never woken up. I'm on my stomach. Sometimes I've woken up on my stomach, but I don't sleep there for more than a few minutes because it's very uncomfortable. I was on my stomach. I was upside down. I was on my comforter. And I remember how I got there. I don't. I've never woken up like anywhere in that type of position. Like on my comforter, upside down. Very weird. So that was my next memory, was the creaking of that door opening and then that moment there where I woke up was like, what happened last night? At this point, it was a negative, very fearful experience, so I didn't want to believe it. It was a hard pill to swallow because it was very scary. The energy from that thing that was coming to my room did not feel positive. It was not like the first time. It felt dark and nefarious, honestly. It felt really nefarious. Something dark. I didn't like that. And I didn't consent to that. And so I woke up, and my neighbor Thomas, who lived below me, he had to tell someone about it. I didn't want to tell my wife because I was going to scare her. So I told Thomas about it. I was like, this is what happened to me last night. Something came in and into the house, and then my memory got deleted, and then I woke up in a weird position in my bed, and I felt a negative energy enter the room. I heard the door open, I heard the footsteps. Thomas says, that's very interesting. I said, what? It's because I recorded something floating over our apartment last night. And I said, Thomas, don't say those jokes. It's not funny. I said, I'm not joking. I said, man, it's not a funny joke, dude. It's not a funny joke. It's like, I'm not joking. Thomas said, I recorded it. I was like, what? Show me. I thought Thomas was mocking me, as people usually do when you tell UFO stories. Crazy, and sometimes they mock you, make fun of you. And so I thought that's what he was doing. Being like, I recorded the UFO over your abducted you. I thought he was joking. But I was like, but he was serious too. He's like, oh, I recorded it. It's like, show me then, prove it to me. At this point, I was still 100% thinking he was gonna be like, I don't got it, just joking. He pulled out his phone and he showed this video that was recorded at night, and there was a ball of light floating over our, or it looks like an apartment, similar to the ball of light I saw the first time in the forest. It's a ball of light, much brighter than any light in the sky, just it's there. And I said, when did you record this? Like around 10-ish at night? I said, that's around the time that thing happened. You can kind of persuade yourself to think that negative experience was a dream. But then when you see the UFO, you're like, no, it wasn't. That video, the UFO from the park, would be the perfect video to show. But by the time I realized it, and I never had planned to make a documentary about these UFO experiences or alien experiences, but I did think at some point it would be a good idea to have that video. And so I asked Thomas, like, he can have that video. But the thing is, I asked him a year later, over a year later. I said, do you still have that UFO video of my apartment? He said, I deleted it. I was like, first of all, if you catch a UFO video, that's like the one video you never ever want to delete. I'm not sure if you accidentally did it or what. Pretty bummed out about that. Then again, when I saw that video on his phone, why didn't I ask for a copy? Why didn't I record the first UFO experience that I had, even though I had a camera specifically bought with hopes of catching that? Why didn't I record all those orbs in the sky the first time I was abducted? I've had opportunities to collect these videos, but it seems like in the intense emotion and the processing of events, recording the event is the last thing on your mind. If you were abducted by a negative entity, would your first thought be, I'd like to see a spaceship that he came from? Probably not. Probably want to repress that memory a little bit. Anyway, that made me feel uncomfortable. That's when I realized I didn't like the energy of that one. I don't like this. I'd like it to stop. After this negative entity abduction experience, it kind of soured all of it, and And I was no longer like, I feel special. I was more like, oh, I'm a lab rat. The way I was kind of tossed in the bed there, I felt like they don't care about me. And the negative energy into the room was like something negative could have happened. And so I was depressed, I had PTSD, I had trouble sleeping, I was constantly worried, were they gonna get me again? Are they coming tonight? Are they coming tonight? You know, stressed and scared of that, and it's hard to sleep. And so for a few weeks, I was really, really intensely stressed about the situation. And then I had this dream that I was staring at my balcony. And floating there was this angelic being. They felt like godly energy, like they were such a good being, so holy, so good, that I felt like I am not fit to be in your presence. You are the holiest. And they were so bright with light. It was, in my dream, it was kind of hard. I was like blinded by it. They kind of looked like, you know, those angels. I can see how people would see this and think they're angels. It was like lights coming in out here, but it wasn't necessarily feathers, but it was like lights coming out. And then there was a beautiful white clothing, almost looked like a dress, almost like a Panamanian pollera, a white Panamanian pollera dress. And I didn't hear any words from that being in my dream, but I did definitely feel good energy. It's almost like the body language was saying, I am a good being, I am powerful, and I'm looking over you. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Which really helped, honestly, that comforting being. Very white being, white clothes, white energy, white light. And that energy was there to calm me. And be like, it's okay. It's okay. I appreciated that. I do appreciate that. It helped a lot. It helped a lot. I needed that. I needed that because with the previous experience, I was stressing. So that really made me feel better. The last time that I had any alien-based experience, that last one was probably the most traumatic. Basically what happened, it was about 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago on the dot, and my second daughter was born. And as soon as she came out, I noticed something strange about her. Something strange. She had two perfect dark spots. One right, almost exactly on her spine here in the back, and one on her left leg near her groin. And she had these dark spots. Perfect circle dark spots. And over the course of about 2 minutes, one of the dark spots near her groin, a little layer of skin slid off. Almost the best way to describe it is like a skin band-aid, a 3D printed skin band-aid was placed on top. And underneath was a perfect, and I mean perfect perfectly cut out circle, like someone had taken a skin sample. It was like half the size of a dime, maybe, or 40% of the size of a dime would be. It's a small circle, maybe it's a team smaller than a centimeter, and it was a whole. It's like the whole skin layer had been taken off, and I could almost see like her muscle under it. It was like the whole skin layer sample had been taken off. And there's no redness, there was no pus, there was no sign of like a disease or infection or inflammation. It was white, perfectly white. Usually when you get cut, it gets like red as blood flows to the area, but it was white, like super fresh. And that skin band-aid slipped off and there was that hole. And so after I saw under that skin band-aid there was a hole, I checked on the other side on her back. I put my finger on her back and I slid another skin band-aid off. And underneath was another hole, perfectly laser cut hole. And that's when I was kind of like, sometimes you doubt that aliens exist. I wanted to believe it before I was abducted. And then once you're abducted and you have that scary experience, you kind of want to not believe it anymore because it's not fun anymore. It's not that fun to think about. It's kind of scary. So I was almost like trying not to believe in aliens at that point. But when I saw that skin band-aid and that surgical thing, I knew those were skin samples that had been taken from my unborn daughter, from my pregnant wife, before my daughter was born. I didn't say anything, didn't want to freak anyone out. So I kept that to myself. Again, did I take pictures of these skin band-aids? No. I took a picture of the hole a few days after when it was healing. And I have that. And if I can find it, I'm going to show it on this here. I should have taken a picture of those skin band-aids and those holes. The way they were perfectly cut out with the skin band-aid printed on top. And the skin band-aid kind of stuck there. See, if you didn't have that, if you had taken a skin sample out and not put a skin band-aid, the poop and the amniotic fluid would have infected that hole. So it was kind of like, thank you for not exposing my newborn daughter to an infection. Thank you for the skin band-aids. But, I didn't say you could take 2 skin samples from my daughter. I didn't consent to that. And that's when I was like, no. God, leave me alone. And I really started praying to God, like, let me be left alone. And since then I haven't. As far as I'm aware, it was about 7 years ago was the last time that happened. But after that I was like, no. Leave me and my family alone. Because you mess with me, I can process that. But you mess with my daughter, no. So that was a tough one. I only told my wife, I think yesterday or a day or two ago, that I even believed that those were skin samples that were taken from our daughter. Because it was a mystery. I remember sending a picture to an expert skin doctor who deals with holes. And he's like, I've never seen anything like that, ever. Never in my practice. And he showed it to a bunch of people, like, never seen anything like that. He was like fascinated. He wanted to do a bunch of tests and this and that and charged me thousands and thousands of dollars. I was like, no. You verified, and also I did tremendous research on it. There's no such thing as a perfectly laser cut out hole with no inflammation with a skin band-aid on top. That doesn't exist. The only technology that can do that is alien technology. To do that in a pregnant woman, to extract 2 skin samples with perfectly laser etched and put a skin band-aid on there without any amniotic fluid, feces getting into it, infecting it, while still in the mom's womb. And take those skin samples out and do all that perfectly. Only aliens could do that. Humans don't have that technology. And if you look at all the cow mutilation, alien cow mutilation stuff, they're perfectly cut laser things. So this whole, and honestly, it's apparently a phenomenon with aliens. They take skin samples, they take sperm samples, they take stuff from human for genetic and reproduction purposes. This is something that they do. I really want to know why they took skin samples, so I ended up doing a tremendous amount of research to why these things happen, only to find out that a lot of my experiences are extremely common. Now you might look at all these experiences and say, hey, some of these were dreams. Dreams are not proof. Some of these are just memories. The only one that's any good evidence at all is the last one, and that would be true, but the last one is irrefutable evidence of aliens. Only aliens have the technology to do that. Humans don't. To do surgery in a pregnant woman while the baby stays in the amniotic fluid, extract a skin sample, and place a skin band-aid on without amniotic fluid getting in is impossible. Even in current day technology, it's impossible to do that. And this happened 7 years ago. Now, I did hear about the Gready Treaty that Eisenhower allegedly signed with some gray aliens that basically allowed them to experiment on humans in exchange for technology. So I want an answer from President Trump and this administration on the Gready Treaty. If it's real, and I'm 95% sure it is real, if the government did sign an agreement to get technology from aliens in exchange for letting Americans be treated like cattle and experimentation with aliens, including my daughter, I don't consent to that, and that needs to be stopped. This treaty needs to end. This agreement needs to end. And I need disclosure on this to heal. I need to know that I don't have to worry about my family ever being impacted by this again. They're gonna be left alone. Right now, I have God to protect me for that, but not everyone does. And sometimes I still have fears. I want to know the details. I want full disclosure on that. And most importantly, I want to know that this deal is over. And if not, I need an explanation. That's how I feel. Yes, not all my experiences have tremendous proof behind them, but collectively, they paint a story about aliens, alien culture, their motives. And what I found is likely the tall whites were the ones abducting me based on how the spaceships looked. Tall whites are often the ones who abduct tall white aliens, and they often do genetic experimentation. They'll take sperm samples, they create hybrids, they'll take skin samples, they do these types of things. These things are apparently quite new. And all these experiences I had, like where I'm introduced to a hybrid alien daughter, first I thought it was a dream, and then I heard, hey, after an alien abduction experience, people are being introduced to these hybrid children as almost to say, yeah, we took your sperm, but hey, at least we introduced you to your child. I guess if that makes it okay. But these are all common things. Apparently I found out as I done research that like a lot of experience I had, missing time, time deletion, the UFO sightings, the multi-generational interest in families, all this is like extremely common. The fact that there was an experience with my mom, my daughter, and me, this is a multi-generational alien abduction story. And it's it's been kind of hard to let it all out. I think that I want to just tell this story once, have it on video, have it documented, and then if anyone asks, I'm like, just watch this. Everything I've said is the truth. There have been no exaggerations. And I am willing to do any type of polygraph test on any information I provided in this in terms of my experience and what I believe happened to me. And I'm willing to testify before Congress if needed, and I'm happy for any body language experts to analyze my body language, because what I'm saying is the truth. So to help you guys visualize what I saw, this is a photo of someone else's skin. It was a punch out. They did some type of operation where they took a skin sample. This is very similar to what I saw, except what I saw had a skin band-aid over it. And in the first 5-6 minutes, the skin band-aid slid off. I wish I would have got a picture of this, because the skin band-aid was pretty incredible all by itself. And underneath the skin band-aid, it looked like this, but it didn't have any blood, any inflammation, any redness. It looked totally fresh, like they just cut everything out, but there had been no blood, no inflammation. It was very weird, because it looked like it hadn't even begun healing, and there was no redness around the circle or no blood or anything. And there were 2 spots like this. Now you're seeing a picture of what it looked like 10 days later. Now you see that the body's trying to heal, and it looks red all around, and it's starting to build up a scab. And then 7 years later, here are the scars on her body, and you can see that they've really changed. One kind of looks like a line, one kind of looks like a big circle, oval. But yeah, these are the pictures I have, the only evidence I have of my story physically. I guess I can show you photo or video wise, but I thought I'd show you just in case you're interested, and because ultimately it's the only piece of evidence I have of what happened. But it really did happen, and that's why I have these photos to prove it. Some of you might be wondering, how is it that normally belief in aliens is contradictory to religions and God and stuff like that, and people don't want to believe in aliens because, like, well, it's not compatible with my religion. It's like, yes, your religion, your church probably has not been talking about aliens, so in that sense it's incompatible. But I will say this, I was an atheist before I had any alien experiences. I believed aliens were more likely to exist than God at that point, and then aliens turned out to be real. And then as soon as my experiences kind of started getting scarier, I really started praying to God, strengthening my relationship with Him, praying a lot. And when my relationship with Him really got phenomenally good, and I was praying and praying and praying, then these experiences stopped. So it was a comfort for me, because I couldn't talk to therapists, I couldn't talk to family and friends without them just thinking I'm absolutely nuts. So the only thing I had to talk to was God, and that actually really developed a relationship with God, because I had no one else to talk to, and over time it really bloomed. So I literally went from an atheist, and then I think aliens might be real, and then aliens were real, and then all these alien experiences made me be like, yeah, God's definitely real too. Especially the fact that all that prayer stopped these abductions, like, for me, is like evidence of God, but also my relationship with God has never been stronger. And this also has strengthened my belief in religion, specifically Christianity and the Bible, because the King James Bible doesn't keep. This has strengthened my relationship and belief in the Bible, not necessarily the King James Bible specifically, but the whole Bible series, including the books of Enoch. Because if you combine the books of Enoch with the King James Bible, what you'll see is that the books of Enoch talk about aliens, alien abduction, alien human hybrids. And so if you combine the books of Enoch with the Bible, then you're hearing the whole Bible story, and you're starting to see, guess what? The Bible does make sense, because the Bible does include aliens. The Bible does include abductions. It does include this phenomenon. So for the first time ever in the last few months, I realized, like, the Bible is true. These are true stories. And it's the books of Enoch, those Bible books, that made me believe in the rest of the Bible stories, because I thought it was all fiction. And then I'm like, oh, I only thought it was fiction because it didn't address aliens. With the books of Enoch, they are the missing puzzle pieces that combines the science. When I say science, I mean like all the alien stuff with the religious, which is, the King James Bible. So I now believe in the Bible because of the books of Enoch. And I only got into the books of Enoch because I was researching aliens. So aliens really got me to believe in God, believe in Christianity strongly, and believe in the Bible. So this whole thing where I'm so scared that aliens are gonna be real, and that's going to contradict all my religious beliefs and prove God's not real, and so I'm just not going to believe in aliens. You're oversimplifying it or overcomplicating it. It's just not like that. If you really look into it and really do your research, you realize that aliens and religion, God, the Bible, they are 100% compatible, and they do work together and make perfect sense together. So I'm excited to talk about that more on this channel, because believing in aliens can further strengthen your belief in God and Christianity and the Bible. So I'm very excited about that.